I was brushing Daisy's mane, lost in the rhythm of it, just a regular afternoon out on the ranch, when I heard it, a scream. It wasn't the kind of sound you'd expect from anything with four legs. It sent a chill down my spine. I jumped up, scanning the paddock, thinking maybe a coyote had slipped through the fence again, or some wild animal had startled the horses. But when I rounded the corner, what I found made me freeze. There was a woman, clearly not in any danger from an animal clutching her ankle, screeching into her phone like she was on the set of a courtroom reality show. Behind her, my most docile horse, Daisy, stood frozen, her eyes wide in confusion, like she had just witnessed a tornado made of entitlement. Now, I didn't recognize this woman, but I knew her type instantly. The kind who thinks every inch of land is public if there are flowers, every animal is a pet if it's cute, and every little injury is a lawsuit waiting to happen. She had trespassed through 3 locked gates, ignored 2 large, no trespassing signs, and had the nerve to try to take a selfie with my horses. And now, she was screaming for an ambulance like we were on the set of some reality courtroom drama. What I didn't know, back then, was that this wasn't just some one-off stunt. This was only the opening act in a circus of delusion, lies, and legal threats that would nearly cost me my ranch. I could see the damage the moment I got close. The gate was clearly forced open, the lock cracked like someone had taken a rock to it in a hurry. One of the rails was bent downward, and there were fresh scuff marks on the ground, likely where she'd tripped while trying to sneak out, or, more likely, stage her fall. Daisy, bless her heart, stood near the far end of the paddock, twitching nervously. Daisy's the calmest horse on the ranch. She's the one the kids learn on. If this woman had gotten Daisy worked up enough to cause her to react, she must have done something pretty stupid. I looked back at the woman. Her phone was angled just right to capture her, crumpled in the dirt, with Daisy nervously standing in the background. She was filming this to go viral. I walked over cautiously, trying to stay calm. "Are you okay?" I asked, though I had a sinking feeling I already knew the answer. She looked up at me, and to my surprise, the tears disappeared instantly. She narrowed her eyes, her expression morphing into something ugly. "Are you the owner here?" she snapped. "That horse attacked me. I'm going to sue you into the ground." I could hardly believe it. The gall of her, standing on my land with a broken gate behind her, demanding a lawsuit. "You broke in, ma'am. There are warning signs everywhere. And that horse didn't attack you. You startled her. She's never hurt anyone," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Her voice shot up an octave. "I was just admiring them. The gate was open. That's on you. My ankle might be broken. I should call animal control." I held back a scoff. "I'll call EMS for you, but you need to stay put." She huffed and, in the most condescending tone, called me a redneck and told me she had a lawyer who would eat me for breakfast. That's when I realized this wasn't a one-time mistake. She wasn't just some random trespasser. This was going to be a fight. EMS came and checked her over, but she refused treatment on site, insisting on being transported for a full evaluation. Meanwhile, the sheriff's deputy who arrived with the EMS crew asked if I had security footage. I nearly hugged him. I took him inside to the office, pulled up the live feed from that morning, and showed him exactly what had happened. There she was, climbing over the side fence near the creek bed. She slipped, swore loudly, then marched toward the barn, talking into her phone the whole time. She reached out to pet Daisy, who sidestepped nervously. Instead of backing off, this woman stepped in closer with her arms raised like she was auditioning for a role in a drama series. Daisy, spooked and trying to get away, gave a small buck not in aggression, but in fear. The woman shrieked, flopped dramatically to the ground, and started rolling around like she'd been attacked by a wild animal. I turned to the deputy. "That's her version of being attacked." He shook his head. "This is going to be interesting," he said, and I knew it wasn't over yet. I thought that would be the end of it. I'd send over the footage, she'd get a warning, maybe a fine, case closed. But 3 days later, a thick yellow envelope arrived at my door. "Legal correspondence" was printed on the front. Inside was a letter from a law firm representing Karen Rosenbaum. The letter claimed that Karen had suffered significant emotional and physical damages due to my negligence, and she would be seeking compensation. I couldn't believe it. She actually went through with it. She filed a lawsuit against me for getting hurt while trespassing on my land. I called my attorney, Dennis, and explained everything. He was silent for a moment, then said, "This isn't about money. This sounds like someone trying to make a name for themselves, or stir up drama for clout. Either way, we'll fight it, but brace yourself. It's going to get ugly. And get ugly it did. Karen didn't stop there. She filed a formal complaint with the HOA. Even though my land wasn't governed by them, that didn't matter to her. She showed up at their next meeting, told a dramatic story about being lured onto my property by hearing a horse in distress, and claimed she was a lifelong animal lover just trying to help. She even brought a fake vet bill and wore an ankle brace for extra effect. The HOA board, especially Trish, the one lady who never liked the way I painted my barn red, lapped it up. They called me a liability to the neighborhood and said they'd have to look into new rules for livestock bordering HOA communities. I wasn't even under their jurisdiction, but that didn't stop them from writing letters. One even said they might recommend I be removed from the town's volunteer fire committee if I didn't resolve the matter quickly. I realized then it wasn't just about Karen. This was a power play. She was a puppet in a larger scheme. Her injury had turned into a crusade, and now her crusade was a neighborhood cause. The cherry on top came a week later, when I got a notice from Animal Control. An anonymous tip had been submitted claiming my horses were being mistreated and kept in unsafe conditions. An officer would be stopping by for a welfare check. I laughed when I read it. It was so obviously Karen. Still, I made sure everything was spotless. Not that I needed to change anything. The horses are treated like royalty. When the officer came by, she found Daisy and the others munching hay in a sunny, spotless paddock. The barn was clean, vet records updated, feed logs printed and signed. She smiled, nodded, and said, "We get calls like this all the time, usually from the same people. You're fine here." But I couldn't relax. Karen had proven she wouldn't stop. And the worst part? She was still twisting the truth publicly. Her social media was full of posts about her injury, the cruel rancher who didn't care, and, even worse, photos of my horses taken from God knows where. People were starting to believe her. That's when I knew I had to prepare for more than just clearing my name. I had to fight for it. Because this wasn't just about a horse selfie gone wrong anymore. This was about someone trying to trample everything I'd built, and I was done letting her set foot on my land, physically or legally, ever again. A week later, Karen switched lawyers, and I received an invite to the upcoming HOA meeting. Technically, my land wasn't under their jurisdiction, but with Karen having allies on the board, it didn't matter. The HOA was now meddling in my affairs again. Trish, who had always wanted me to modernize the look of my barn, had clearly teamed up with Karen, using her as leverage to get me to comply. At the meeting, I walked in to find all eyes on me, like I was some outlaw. Karen was sitting front and center, giving me that smug, confident look only someone who truly believes their own lies could wear. She stood up and started her performance, recounting how she was lured onto my property to rescue a baby animal and was ambushed by a wild stallion. I didn't flinch. When she finished, I calmly asked to present Evy Denke. The room went silent. Trish cleared her throat and muttered something about editing. I wheeled in a cart with a monitor and hit play on the surveillance footage. There was Karen, clear as day, hopping the fence in designer sneakers, then marching toward the barn, trying to pet Daisy. When Daisy backed away, Karen stepped in closer, startling her. Daisy kicked not at her, but the ground near her. It was undeniable. The footage spoke for itself. Karen had trespassed. She wasn't ambushed, she had staged the entire thing. And just like that, Karen's lies began to unravel. But she wasn't done. Karen escalated. She filed another claim, this time about post-traumatic stress, saying she couldn't walk past horse farms without panic attacks. Of course, her Instagram showed her petting alpacas just days later, but her story gained traction. She even tried a crowdfunding campaign, claiming she was being harassed by ranchers and their dangerous animals. It was a circus, and Karen was the star. But the more she performed, the more her credibility shattered. One day, I got an anonymous tip Karen had hired a videographer to stage a reenactment of the attack. It was ridiculous. A mini horse in a child's cowboy costume, and Karen pretending to be attacked. The irony? The mini horse ran into the road, through my gate, and into my barn, spooking Daisy. Chaos erupted. Karen slipped, fell into a pile of hay, and cried for the camera. But this time, it was all too obvious. The footage was posted online, and Karen became the joke of the town. Her case collapsed from there. Every new claim she made was countered with Evy Denke that exposed her lies. The neighborhood started to turn against her. Even the HOA board had begun distancing themselves. The real shock came when the judge dismissed her lawsuit, ruling that she had fabricated the whole thing for clout and attention. In the end, Karen had lost. Her social media was a ghost town, her credibility shot, and her case thrown out of court. But even as I walked away from that courtroom victorious, I knew it wasn't over. Karen had dragged my name through the mud, and it had cost me more than just legal fees. But at least I had my ranch. At least I had the truth. And as I stood in the paddock with Daisy, watching the sunset, I knew that's all I really needed. So what do you think? Have you ever had someone try to trample on your truth, make you the VY lane in their story? Drop a comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. Let's talk about justice, lies, and the power of standing up for what's right. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of real fights, real VY stories.